Hey, how you doing? This is Matt Weatherford.
This is Lenny Sherman, and this is another podcast. We still don't have a name for the podcast.
Schmuckast.
The Schmuckast. I didn't. That was our permanent name.
Schmuckast. Yeah, Kevin Smith. I think he's going to retire, isn't he?
Yeah. He's making that hockey movie. He was going to make into a miniseries, and then he was going to do Clerks 3. But it's really weird because I was in one of his last podcasts. He was talking about how it's all up to the guy who plays Randall. Not Brian O'Halloran, Jeff Anderson. It's up to him because I guess he got screwed with Clerks 2 over money.
He's waiting on him.
Yeah, because with Clerks 2, there were some kind of legal issues with the money with the Weinsteins because they owned it, and they didn't get paid everything that they were supposed to, and I guess the main actors didn't get paid what they were supposed to, and Jeff Anderson especially is really pissed off that he doesn't want to do another Clerks movie unless he gets paid for it, which I can kind of understand, but it's kind of weird how the weight of a movie relies on the one actor. Kind of makes sense because he is the one half of that series,
Oh, that's a shame.
Well, at one point, Kevin Smith wanted to do it as a play, a Broadway play. That would have been interesting. Then he wouldn't have had to deal with any of the movie studios.
So Ghostbusters 3, huh?
Yeah. What's your thoughts on the Bill Murray-less Ghostbusters?
Oh, they'll get Bill Murray. He'll do it. Won't he?
No, he already said he wasn't going to do it.
Oh.
It's been all over. Like, he's adamant about not doing it. You'd want to think that Dan Aykroyd has been pushing for this to be made for years. You would think if he's pushing for it that hard that it's got to be a decent script. And it might be, but I'm with everyone else on this. As much as I like sequels, it's like having Ninja Turtles and you're missing Michelangelo. Like Bill Murray is the heart and soul of the Ghostbusters. You can't do it without him,
Yeah, you could. You could make a good movie without Bill Murray.
You could. I mean, it's not really Ghostbusters, though. It's like, I don't know, having a sequel to an Adam Sandler movie without Adam Sandler.
That could be a good thing.
Well, we were going to talk about nostalgia.
Let's go.
We just got done playing Twisted Metal 2, and surprisingly, yeah, I mean, people ask me sometimes when I talk about games, they ask if I'm a gamer, and it depends on what you mean by that.
Lots of fond memories of playing Twisted Metal 2.
Yeah, well, a lot of games. The review that I just did, I got a chance to play Super Mario Kart because I was kind of comparing the two games, Mario Kart, and then along comes Twisted Metal 2, which is Mario Kart kind of started a genre of the vehicular combat genre, and Twisted Metal expanded on that because it's a free roaming car combat game. Whereas Mario Kart, you race around in laps.
It's a racing game.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, it's a racing game. Twisted Metal is more like a demolition derby. That's the word.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of fond memories. And, you play a lot of these games today, and a lot of them, especially the early 3D games, like Mario 64, I don't know, I don't think that really holds up today when you see games like Mario Galaxy on the Wii. But, like Twisted Metal 2, I hadn't played it in 10 years, and all of a sudden I got this kind of, I just needed to play it just to see if it held this test of time, and I enjoyed it so much that I spent, the last 3 days doing a review on it, recording all the footage.
We might have to do another co-op before I leave.
Yeah.
I'll be Hammerhead.
So you could kick my ass.
What was your favorite card? No, we won't play each other. We'll play.
Oh,
we'll kick the computer's butt.
Still, dude,
yeah.
we played that whole game, beat the game.
Don't use your fucking minion special.
And you didn't lose one life, and here we are in New York, and I fell off 3 times.
This motherfucker over here fell off 3 times.
Well, can't blame me for the shitty PlayStation's 10 frames per second frame rate.
Okay, and then I killed him and Darktooth at the same time.
Yeah, that was funny.
And luckily, the game chose to save us.
But I did beat the Fiery Skull version of Darktooth with my Minion Special, so there. Minion Special does come in.
I told you not to use it!
I don't care.
It's cheating, folks. It's cheating, and I don't
It's not cheating.
He doesn't like it when I bring it. I'm telling you.
It's when you're Minion, you get to use Minion Special. So why can't you use Minion Special with Roadkill or Twister?
Because he's not Minion.
Especially when they're shitty. So what?
Why don't you beat the game with Roadkill Special? You want to take
I
did.
You want
to take a station break? We can take a station break.
And Minion Special.
We can go outside and talk about this.
No, it's okay. We wanted to talk about. Well, I wanted to talk about nostalgia. Just nostalgia is a really important thing to me. In college, I'm doing a marketing campaign for Sega of all things, and my professor looked at my project, and she goes, yeah, what's really cool about this is it's nostalgic. People remember like Sonic the Hedgehog and all these old like Sega games, and that's why I chose them. Was I'm not a modern gamer. I've got a PS3 and an Xbox, and those will probably be the last video game systems I ever buy, because I don't understand. And my library is just full of like 2D fighting games, and it's like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, and Tekken, and that's it. I don't own any, like I don't play any of the first person shooters or anything like that. But I always come back to like Mario and Zelda. Zelda: Link to the Past is like one of my favorite games of all time.
Link to the Past. Hey, what are your two favorite boss battles in Link to the Past?
Link to the Past, probably the lobster, the big crab from the first Castle in the Dark World.
Oh, with the mask?
Yeah, and definitely, and definitely the turtle on Turtle Rock.
Ooh, that's a good one with the two heads.
Yep.
That's a very frustrating tower.
I used to love Ganon too, but when you get down to it, he's kind of easy. Well, he's challenging, but
I hate the Ice Palace. So trying to figure out the way out of there.
It's a hard palace.
Would have taken forever.
Dude, when you get into like these later Zelda games, like the Twilight Princess on the Wii, it takes you fucking
takes like 2 hours to do a dungeon.
Yeah, as long as it takes to beat Link to the Past, that's how long it takes to beat one fucking dungeon.
Link to the Past to me is perfect.
It is.
It really is. There's not many mistakes in that game. It's pretty...
Well, I think what it is, too, is today, video games, they spoil the player with just these really outlandish storylines that are like miniseries type storylines. And just, you sit there and play for 5 minutes, and then it's like an hour of video footage. Metal Gear Solid, I think, started that trend on PlayStation 2, where it's you play for 5 minutes, and then you get like a 2-hour fucking movie.
Yeah, I'd rather go to the theater than buy a game and play.
And the other thing I have to say is I think games today are too realistic, where they're almost simulators rather than video games. Like Call of Duty, I remember playing Modern Warfare. Good game, but my big problem with that is you'll sit there and fight, and then all of a sudden your computer like partners will take over, and they'll beat the level for you. So it's almost like you do just kind of sit there and beat the level. And I mean,
but people buy that game for the
multiplayer. I understand, but the multiplayer is such a turnoff to me, though, especially with a first-person shooter, because it's like two headshots and you're dead.
Oh, you don't like multiplayer games?
No, well, I did when you're like talking about Nintendo 64.
Now, there's another nostalgic game is James Bond, GoldenEye.
We were talking about GoldenEye.
GoldenEye,
but even that one, like, if you knew where the fucking shields were in that level, you'd never die. It would take forever to fucking kill you. I like a long match. I don't like these. I
think Twisted Metal 2 more than any other game to me is nostalgic because I used to play that game every day almost, all the time. I loved it. Donkey Kong Country 2, that was pretty fun.
I was talking to a colleague in class, and she's probably, I'm 30, and she's probably 20, 22.
You're 30?
Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
But she's like 22. And she was talking about how she used to play Twisted Metal. Well, when I was playing Twisted Metal 2, I was like in junior high. So I was probably, I would say, 15, 16. So she was like 8 or 9 when she played Twisted Metal. It's just kind of weird.
Kind of weird.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, what kind of games were you nostalgic for, like, that you still play? I know, well, yeah, you go ahead.
Super Mario World. Definitely. Super Mario 3. I can beat that without dying, I think.
That's a
I'm
tough
pretty good.
game.
I'm pretty good. Which one?
Which Mario 3? Do you
Mario
like
3
Mario?
is not that hard, is it? Really?
I think it is. I mean, like when you get to the ice stage and the cloud levels.
Child's play.
Yeah, maybe if you have the P-wing and you can cheat your way through all the levels.
I never use a P-wing.
That's what we used to always do. Is we would, you can save all your weapons over time. So we'd save up like 10 P-wings and just like fly over all the hard levels.
With the nice clouds.
I had a Game Genie too, though. I would cheat my ass off.
So what else is there? New Star Wars movie coming out. Carrie Fisher's talking about being in it. She's in it, you know.
There's no segue at all. It's just we're talking about Star Wars.
Well, no, I know, but she's going to be in it. They're bringing back the whole cast.
Let's get this over with. I've praised the prequel trilogy many times. I'm one of those few people that like the prequels, but I'm done defending it because as much as I think they're good movies.
Don't say that.
They are, but I see the points that everyone points out. So they're hard, especially the Phantom Menace. They're really hard to defend. I think just me being a Star Wars fan, it's hard for me to come out and say I don't like those movies. Although I did go see Phantom Menace last year in 3D, and I wasn't as excited about it as I was when it first came out. Because when it came out like 12 years ago or whatever, I think I was a sophomore in high school. fucking couldn't wait for a new Star Wars movie, and I loved it back then, and I loved it for years afterwards. But then I got it on Blu-ray, and that's the one that I don't really look forward to watching. Not because it's a bad movie; it's kind of boring though. And that's my. But it's just so weird because now everyone's saying that because George Lucas is not really involved anymore, he's not writing, he's not directing. You're getting the original cast back at least as like side characters in the story to make it feel like Star Wars. And you've got J.J. Abrams directing. People are like, oh, yeah, it's in better hands now, and this is going to be awesome. You know, this could turn out to be like another prequel trilogy. It really could. Just people really excited about it, and then it comes out being like another Phantom Menace, just like CGI Ewoks everywhere. So I'm reserving my excitement.
Oh, I hope there's not a whole lot of CGI.
Well, it's J.J. Abrams. I mean, you know. Here's my biggest
fear.
With
his love for the original trilogy, I really don't think he's going to go.
Well, yeah, I was reading that like when he did Star Trek, he wasn't as attached to Star Trek because he wasn't like a true Trek fan, from my understanding. So Star Wars he has a definite affection for. So he was claiming that with Star Wars he's going to, approach it like he's an actual Star Wars fan, which is cool. As much as I love the Star Trek movie that he did, and I'm looking forward into Star Trek Into Darkness coming up, I don't know if I want to see Star Wars become like Star Trek. I don't know if I want to see a Star Wars movie that's got all that polish to it. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know. It's hard to say anything about anything right now.
Well, just speculation. I mean, like, did you like the new Star Trek movie or not?
Yeah.
I know you're not really a Star Trek fan.
I'm not a big Star Trek fan, but I like the new movie.
Yeah.
Go figure. And I liked Super 8 that he did. J.J.
Yeah, see, I know a lot of people who didn't like that. I didn't see the whole thing of Super 8, but from what I saw like the first hour, and I kind of lost interest for some reason. But I really liked. It reminded me of like an '80s, like a Spielberg movie with the kids and everything.
The point, yeah.
And I like that. Again, when we're talking about nostalgia, it's very rare to see movies that are very, I guess, true and kind of, have you reminiscent about childhood. And
well, that's one of the nice things about movies is they have a lot of nostalgia. I think more than anything, movies have that because
It's rare though for a movie to come out present day.
I mean, you can remember movies you watched when you were a kid, and you can still remember it. And watching them again, you just remember that time when you were a kid. It can really bring you back.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like a lot of these movies that are coming out now, with the exception of like Indiana Jones, I'll give you an example. Is like Rocky Balboa, one of my favorite movies of all time, the Rocky 6 that came out a couple years ago. And I didn't grow up watching Rocky. I was more of a Ralph Macchio and the Karate Kid kind of guy. But I didn't get into the Rocky series till a lot later. And just the fact that Rocky Balboa came out and was as good and as true to the series as it was very surprising, and is one of the few times where a movie can come out after like 18 years, a sequel, and really amaze you. Because like the Die Hard movies, I think everyone would agree that the Die Hard sequels just don't feel like genuine Die Hard movies. Star Wars, whether you liked it or not, it's the prequel trilogy tells a completely different story. So until you get to like the end of Episode 3, there's not a lot of nostalgia there. So yeah, when a movie like Super 8 comes out, it makes you kind of feel like you're watching like a Stand By Me, like a Rob Reiner film. It's kind of rare. So we'll see what happens. Now the other thing I wanted to talk about was the spin-off movies. There's a lot of talk about they wanted. I guess Disney.
Oh, like Universal's doing, or Marvel, like Marvel's doing.
Yeah, well, I guess Disney just released that starting with 2015, they're going to have a Star Wars movie come out every year.
Every year.
Like every other year, you're going to have like Episode 7, Episode 8, Episode 9, the movies that are in the Skywalker saga, and then the other years, I guess the even numbered years, you're going to have stories like side stories. Like you're going to have a Boba Fett movie, a Han Solo movie, a Yoda movie.
I want Boba Fett in the next movie. Put him in there. Here's
the debate that people are having with this. Like they're talking about one of the first movies they want to do is Yoda. Obviously, if they do a movie based on Yoda, it's going to take place sometime before Jedi because he dies. So it's like same with Obi-Wan. They want to do an Obi-Wan movie where Ewan McGregor plays the younger Obi-Wan, and like
that's just gonna be stupid.
But I think a lot of people are getting really tired of this notion of giving us more backstory. I think people want like if you're gonna do a Boba Fett movie,
yeah,
I
don't like that direction. I'm gonna just say it right now. I don't like it, Lenny. I just
what
don't
don't you like about it?
I don't like it. Because I think they can do all of this in the next trilogy. I think you can do a trilogy and really, you don't need to do different. Who's gonna want to go watch a freaking Obi-Wan movie? I mean, come on.
Well, I mean, I like Ewan McGregor.
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor introduced.
Oh, he was great. He was the best part of the prequels, really.
Well,
Just
he was
about.
one of them, yeah. He was probably the most
Acting-wise, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Not better than Hayden Christensen.
I love Ewan McGregor. I loved him in Moulin Rouge.
They were like animals, so I slaughtered them like animals.
I give some love to my man Hayden Christensen.
Not just the women, not just the men, but the women and the children. I hate them.
I don't know. I kind of felt it more when he was actually doing it, but
What?
Hayden Christensen doing
what's
the
your
performance.
I hate them. So anyway, so there it is.
Well, what if they did a Boba Fett movie where it actually took place? They actually showed him like escaping the Sarlacc pit.
That's what I want to see, and I hope it's in the next movie. I think it's going to be. Mark my words, Sherman. I really believe that's going to be.
Wouldn't that be kind of sweet though if like Boba Fett ended up showing up and like
he's going to come out of the Sarlacc pit.
Well, they
Think about
probably
the
won't
possibilities.
show that, but he'll probably.
Oh yes, they should.
It'd be it depends on the timeline too. Like
Oh, they'll show it. I think that's a great idea to put in the next movie.
yeah.
I want it to be like in the vein of like Empire Strikes Back, where you got like 3 different tales kind of being told, interwoven together.
Well, you save that for the actual.
That would
movie.
be cool.
Well, that's what they want to do. Like
You'd have Luke
You'd
training
have-
his Padawans.
you'd have like episode 7, right? And then you introduce like you have episode 7. Then the movie after that is about a character that you've never seen them before. It's a brand new character. They do a movie just based on them. And then when you see them show up very briefly in like episode 8, you have this whole backstory about that one character. That way, you're still going forward in time. I don't know if I even like that idea because Star Wars to me is about nostalgia. I want more Luke Skywalker and Leia and Han.
My only
and their
wish
kids.
is that all these young kids that go and see these movies and they get all wrapped up into it, I hope no one ever forgets the magic that George Lucas made. And I hope they go back and watch those movies because, they're real special.
Okay. What were you saying about? Oh, you said kids. Well,
Yeah,
have
the original movies.
have you seen that documentary?
People versus George Lucas?
Yeah, it's so disrespectful.
Greedo
Look.
shot first, dude.
Greedo shot first.
He did. Oh, no, or did Han shoot? Yeah. Yeah, no, Han shot first.
No, he didn't.
Yes,
Well,
he did.
he was the only one to
He
shoot.
had to.
He was the only one to shoot.
That's right. Well, that too, yeah. He didn't dodge the bullet.
It's so funny because people are so obsessed with that. They
I'm
don't
sorry,
even,
but it's...
they can't even get the facts right. It's not that Han shot first. He was the only one
I
to
said
shoot.
it wrong. I said it wrong. It's my fault.
No, all the fans say that. Oh, Han shot first. Han was the only one to shoot. Greedo never actually fired off a shot. So your logic is all wrong anyway.
Yeah, Han
like-
just killed him in cold blood, right?
Yeah.
He had to. He had no choice.
Well, the thing about that scene in the cantina was that it was set up. We knew that Han was going to fire. They were setting up that shot for him to do it. It wasn't like he did it. It wasn't a surprise when he did it. So when you have Greedo shooting first, it breaks that tension. Does it change anything about the character? No. I mean,
Yes.
no, because Han would have lived either way.
It changes a lot because it's
It doesn't
the
change
kind of person
anything.
he is to kill Greedo or wait to be shot at then kill him.
I don't know.
It does make a big difference because you can make Han look like a cold-blooded killer, and I do believe that's why Lucas did change it because he didn't want kids watching this movie and seeing Han just kill someone in cold
Yeah,
blood.
but like if you ever saw his first movie, THX 1138, that's an R-rated film. There's actually like full frontal nudity in there. He didn't edit that out just for the kiddies so that
Well, Star Wars is for kids though.
Well, I'm just saying.
Generally, and that's what
You
people
still
do
have that
forget.
scene in Empire where Han chops open the belly of the Tauntaun.
Yeah.
That's not edited, so
I know.
I don't understand. Like, I just don't understand this whole thing of changing shotguns to flashlights in 8T.
Oh, that was dumb. And
Politically
Spielberg already
correct
admitted
shit.
it was a big mistake, and he would never do it again.
And does it change the movie overall? No, it's just you grew up with these movies, and then you see it, and all of a sudden you're watering it down.
What was even worse was those added CGI scenes that looked terrible. E.T. actually looked worse somehow. That's what I don't get. All this technology 30 years later, and it actually looks worse.
Well, it's funny because like Jurassic Park, it was like the first major movie where they made CGI look real, and they haven't really, ever since then, it's never looked that good. I mean, for some reason, Aliens just don't translate as well. Like, what is it about CGI that just, I don't know, it's not done very well. Like, I've made this argument before with, like, Transformers.
I don't think it looks better.
Well, it just depends on how you do it. You can make CGI look good, but it's hard to do, I guess. Like Transformers. They move like cartoons, but they're these very heavy machines, and machines don't move that smoothly. There's a jerkiness to machinery, and yet these and I know you can make the stupid argument that they're aliens, but still, I mean, they're machines. They fucking Optimus Prime's a semi-truck.
We got a new Turtles movie coming, and this made me want to remind you how much I love the original Turtles movie.
Let's address this alien thing right now. And Michael Bay just made a statement about this.
With the ooze, we know the ooze is the alien origin.
Well, I don't remember. I don't know what Michael Bay actually said. All I know is if you get past like the TV show, the cartoon, and the live action movies that New Line did years ago that everyone's familiar with, the original Ninja Turtles that came out in 1984, the ooze actually did come from an alien species. The turtles weren't aliens, but the ooze that changed them has an alien background. That's what TCRI comes from. That TGRI science lab that was in Turtles 2. That was
the word?
TGRI.
Was it? Yeah, you're right. Oh, good memory. TGRI. That's right.
Yeah, Techno Global Research Institute.
Just a bunch of serial numbers. Yeah.
Well, in the comic book, it was TCRI, Tecmo Cosmic Research Institute, and there were aliens running this place. They came down to Earth, and they lost this vial of ooze that the turtles came into contact with. But they were aliens, so the turtles are kind of like their origin, their blood is alien. So really, the fans who are really bitching about this, when you think about it, you either forgot about that point somehow, or you just don't know anything about.
I think they're just bitching to bitch, and it's just that Michael Bay has a bad track record of taking original great classic movies and remaking them into really pieces of shit, I guess.
I've never seen a really bad Michael Bay movie.
Well, no, not like his directing, but producing. Like he took Nightmare on Elm Street. Look what happened. Bad movie. But he took Friday the 13th. What'd you say about that? Worst in the series.
Yeah,
he has a long record of taking movies.
I think he's producer in name only because it's his production company. I don't really think when you're a producer. I mean, I can say the same thing about Spielberg and Robert Zemeckis. Like Zemeckis is one of my favorite directors, but as soon as you put his name as a producer, the movie doesn't have that. They do that to.
Yeah, it's a name. Quentin Tarantino presents Hostel, even though he had nothing to do with it. It was just
right.
They put the name on. I understand.
It works the opposite way too. Like Howard the Duck, George Lucas wanted his name taken off that project. It is so surreal though that we're getting a Star Wars Episode 7 because he was on Jon Stewart's show when was it Red Tails? Red Tails. When Red Tails came out, and he was like, "This is the closest thing to a Star Wars Episode 7 we'll ever get," because there's a lot of like aerial dogfighting and stuff. He made a good point though. That's probably the only all-black action movie. If you think about it, I guess Bad Boys. I don't know. It's kind of a bold statement, but it's kind of cool, I guess. I don't know. Is Bad Boys an action movie?
Yeah, I don't
know if it's the first.
That was Michael Bay, wasn't it? Didn't Glenn watch that like 10 times a day or something?
I don't know.
Didn't you say that's all Glenn watched was Bad Boys?
I don't know.
He told me it was like his favorite movie. Hi, Glenn.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, wasn't it the first Turtles movie that really kind of, what I like about it is it's really dark. Think about the whole movie. It's just there's a dark tone to it all. These teenagers stealing from everyone.
Yeah, that's another nostalgia.
And then you have that real creepy scene where Shredder's like, "I am your father," and it's just There's a lot of real darkness.
Star Wars references.
Yeah, there's just a lot of dark. It's just a whole dark movie. There's not a whole lot of positivity in it at all. It's all very sad.
Well, I wouldn't say it doesn't have positivity. It's a very
Michelangelo,
movie, but
obviously.
It's got a dark center.
Definitely. Oh, it's just
that's another nostalgic movie though, because I fucking loved the Turtles when I was a kid. I had all the action figures. My cousin had all like the big the turtle van and stuff, but I had all the action figures.
And you like that I think the first movie really captured. Well, from what I heard, the comics, it was the darker tone.
Yeah,
obviously 2 and 3 became much more of a comical.
Well, if you notice too, in the sequels, they didn't use their weapons.
Yeah, they didn't use weapons, and
they're using fucking cold cuts.
It definitely
combat cold cuts. Yeah.
You go right and I go left. Got it? Good. I don't get it. But anyway, the first movie.
It's a little too rough.
It's just the first movie. It's all very bleak. New York was all those young kids, like when he steals the money from April's wallet.
Yeah.
Estranged from his father.
Well, just the fact, I can remember first seeing that trailer. The first time I heard about a Turtles movie, I'm like, oh, cool. It's going to be like the Transformers animated movie where it's like better animation, but it's still going to be a cartoon.
Live action.
So when I saw live action, I'm like, wow. And you see it even today, like that puppet.
It's still cool.
Those puppeteers and stuff. Yeah. And that's why I like Turtles 2 a lot, too. it's a dumb movie, but it's a very you get a
You're
good.
2 minutes late, dude.
Wise man say forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza.
You're standing on it, dude. But yeah, it's all very dark, and I like the end fight with Shredder and all that, and he kicked their butts, man. He kicked all of their asses, you know. Better not ask for a can opener.
That's a great movie.
It is a very good movie.
I guess you're not game show fans.
I like Casey's confrontation with Ralph. That was always pretty funny. A Jose Canseco bat. Tell me, you didn't pay money for this. And then he nearly gets killed.
Wear green makeup.
Yeah, he nearly gets killed, doesn't he? Ralph gets his ass kicked, and he's in the bathtub.
You keep calling him Ralph.
Raphael. Raphael. Okay, Raph. Yeah,
well, it sounded like you're calling him Ralph, like Ralph the like Ralph the mouse.
Ralph. Yeah, Ralph and Donald Tulo. That's funny. Yeah, but it was funny because, well, you know, didn't Leonardo yell at him, your attitude isn't helping, and blah, blah, blah. And he felt guilty because he went off and sulked, and that's why he got beat up and stuff. And
did you see TMNT, the CGI movie?
No, I didn't see the CGI movie. I think I saw like the first 10 minutes. It was kind of cool.
The storyline isn't very good. Like the overall story, the villain sucks in there, but the animation is actually pretty good of the Turtles, and they actually continue the story, which I thought was interesting. You would think they would do the origin again, but it's really kind of depressing. Like all the Turtles are broken up, and Casey and April O'Neil are still together, and Raphael is still the hothead. And...
Can we just pretend that Turtles in Time didn't happen?
Oh, Turtles 3?
Yeah.
To me, that's a guilty pleasure. Hey, dudes, look! We're in Shogun!
No.
I think he swallowed a frog. Hope it wasn't an ancestor.
It was a game, though. It's a good game, though. Turtles in Time.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good nostalgia one. It's a little redundant, but fun.
I love those hack and slashers.
We should play it right now. You got to throw the foot soldiers at the screen.
I was playing the original arcade game on Xbox the other day. That's the only reason I use my Xbox is for like Golden Axe and Turtles in Time.
Is that the one where you start with the fire and everything?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it with Rocksteady.
Oh, yeah.
When the tunnel. Oh, I do like that game a lot. That was for the Nintendo, wasn't it?
Well, it came out for the Nintendo. It wasn't the piss poor... Ninja Turtles 2, the piss poor version of the arcade game.
No, it added levels, right? It added
They added levels to it, but it's like when you compare them side by side, the graphics are terrible. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the graphics
are better. I mean, for Nintendo standards, it's a good representation, but I don't know, you lose a lot. That was really frustrating about the Nintendo was it did a lot for how ancient it was.
And they got the real beautiful Megan Fox as April O'Neil. I can't wait to see what that is.
We'll see again.
You know who Emma Stone is, right?
Oh, Spider-Man?
She was in the new Spider-Man movie?
Yeah.
She would have been a good April O'Neil. I think she's got the look.
I think she was a better...
I didn't like the new Spider-Man movie.
I didn't either.
I thought it was really bad, actually.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, guys.
Come
on.
I don't know.
Just let it go.
They didn't have Jameson.
I feel bad for Sam Raimi because I really feel like the third movie had a lot of potential, and it really was a mess.
You know what, though? A lot of people like Spider-Man 3.
No.
They do.
Fuck them.
I mean, it's got a fan base.
Yeah, not really. You've got a fan base.
No, I don't.
Fuck Spider-Man 3. No, I just feel like I don't know. It feels like, this. It was like the studio's decisions more than his. I don't know how to say it. It just seems like they kind of made it what they wanted instead of Sam Raimi. I mean, come on, 3 villains, and they ruined Venom. I mean, that's not even debatable.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a hard argument to make because it's just you got to understand the studio system. That's how it works. It's when you're looking at a Hollywood movie, it's not about art. It's about making profit and turning out a product.
Yeah, well, fuck all that.
Well,
that's a shame, and that's what's wrong with movies then.
Yeah,
because that's not what movies are about, and it should not be that way. Unfortunately,
that's what
you're right,
blockbuster movies are about, though. I mean, when you have to give a little leeway to blockbuster movies, to movies that are slated for the summer and all that, you just have to give them a little leeway.
You want to be entertained.
That's like calling a retarded person out for double dribble. You got to let something slide.
That was really funny. A retarded kid on double dribble. I'm sorry. That was good. I don't mean to laugh so much. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, we tried to do a podcast on Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm still pretty much decided that the only ones I like are 1 and 3. All the other ones can go to fucking hell.
My favorite one was the remake.
Yeah, I'm sure. It was great. Saw it in theaters and everything.
I'll say something about remakes though in general, like Nightmare and Jason. Like they're not good, but the one
they're terrible.
The one good thing that those movies do is it gets people talking about those franchises again.
Yeah.
I mean, they do. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it made me go and watch all the old ones again. It made me appreciate.
What's your favorite horror movie?
My favorite. That's a hard one. I probably have 3, and I think they're all Wes Craven.
Nightmare on Elm Street's one of them.
You know what I was reading the other day about video gamers though in general. A lot of game companies like Nintendo, especially Sony. No, but a lot. Moving on. A lot of video game companies are losing money. Like Nintendo's losing a lot of money because to smartphones, because a lot of people who never play games are turning to smartphones and iPhones for their video games now. You know,
I think Nintendo's doing just fine. They just sold like 50 million Wii's or something.
I don't know.
Oh, the Wii U is not supposed to be that good though. That's what I heard.
Yeah, well, it's nobody. The marketing was very confusing about it because first of all, they kept the name. They didn't change it. Like it's not the Super Wii or anything like that. It's the Wii U. It's like, and the way they marketed it, people thought it was just a controller that they would use for the Wii.
Isn't Donkey Kong Country 2 better than Donkey Kong Country?
What a segue.
Diddy's Conquest, right?
When it first came out, I didn't like it as much as the first one, but when you... here's my thing. It's called Donkey Kong Country, but you don't play as Donkey Kong. That annoyed me. I never liked playing as Dixie.
Well, Dixie? She's sweet. She's got the hair.
Yeah, she's fun to play as.
I think of all the things that added to it.
I like Donkey and Diddy.
I thought it even looked better. The graphics were even better.
Yeah,
the music was better.
It did. I think overall, just the variety of
and
stuff
it was
you
more
can
difficult. And it was a little bit harder.
You like Donkey Kong 3.
Fuck you.
Where the
random
lightning level?
Yeah, shut up. No, I think the second one's a lot better. It's a lot harder because what I don't like with Donkey Kong Country is it's way too easy. Like you could beat that.
It's a fun ass game.
It's got like
though.
two maybe challenging levels. There's one in the snow, and then there's that green freaking pond.
Yeah, it's a fun game.
No, it's a great game, but I always thought the second one.
I would say just the level of stuff you can do in Donkey Kong 2.
Plus the DK coins and all the battle games, all those things they added to it just made it even better. That was kind of a weird segue.
I think the first Donkey Kong Country is more memorable though. That's also another thing I like about the Wii too is just the regular Wii is all of these nostalgic games coming. But remember the first time? Were you there when we played New Super Mario Brothers for the first time? Was that you or Dan?
Probably me. I don't think Dan likes Mario.
Well, we were at GameStop and I sat and played it for like 20 minutes. I was like, "Wow, this is fucking sweet." And I think you were watching me play it or something. I was like, I couldn't believe that they were making a new Mario game that was 2-dimensional.
Oh, like the old platforms.
Yeah.
With the Koopa Kids.
Yeah, I love that. You know, Donkey Kong Country Returns is another one. I guess they just announced a sequel to Link to the Past. Finally, an official sequel.
Yeah. What's your favorite world in Super Mario 3?
Favorite? Oh, Giant Land, of course.
Yes. No way. Oh, you like Giant Land? Oh,
yeah.
I think I'd have to go with Skyland.
That was a hard fucking level.
Which one? Giant?
No, Skyland.
Skyland?
I like Giant.
I like it. Well, you think about when you first play it, it's got that tower at the end, and you don't know what it is, and you end up going all those stairs.
Yeah.
And plus, it had the 2 best castles. I don't know if you remember the castles too well, but
no.
The 2 castles in World 5
is that the one with
favorite.
the one castle that has all the coins, all the bricks turned to coins?
No, that's World 7, but Skyland's got the ones with the fireballs that are coming out of the ceiling. They come out of the ceiling and up and down. It's really sweet.
So you is
like
Mario 3 your favorite Mario game?
That and Super Mario World, yeah.
Yeah, Mario World is the one I remember.
But I really love the original game. I mean, it's hard not to include that one too because that one really.
Well,
is
that
classic.
game was revolutionary. There is no game like that when it first came out. It's
still
a very addictive
it's
game.
The greatest game of all time. I mean, I think even G4 said it was. That's just overall influence, and it is fun. It is still fun.
Yeah, in terms of overall influence, I would definitely say the first game. But in terms of just playability,
Super Mario World.
I love Yoshi. I love Yoshi, man. But 3 had a lot of innovations, though. Even with Mario World, as good as Mario World looked, 3 had like the Tanuki suit and the raccoon. They were on drugs when they made
3 was
game.
like a. 3
Think
was
about
like
it. You're gonna get a feather, or you're gonna get a leaf. The leaf is gonna give you a raccoon tail, and you can fly.
It's just great imagination. That's really what it is.
Great stone.
Great level design. All that stuff. No, Mario 3 was a giant leap forward. I mean, that game blew my mind. Yeah.
I haven't played the Nintendo versions in a long time. I like Mario All-Stars for Super Nintendo.
That's what I have, the updated graphics.
I like that.
Oh, the Lost Levels. Ooh, it's a hard one.
You know that was the original Mario 2, right?
Yeah. I like Mario. Yeah.
And in Japan, their Mario 2 is called Mario USA.
I like it. Oh, it's a good Mario impression.
It's me, Mario. I've got the mustache and 2 lumps of turds heading out of my hair. You ever play Mario 64? I remember playing that game, and it looks like he's got 2 chunks of poop hanging out of his hat. polygonal piece of shit.
What else is there?
Yeah.
Yeah, so how about that Blade Runner? Didn't you watch Blade Runner again?
No.
No.
Fuck that movie. I was reading, though, that movie Universal Soldier or whatever, I guess that's supposed to take place in the Blade Runner world.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Rick Deckard.
I like the movie Splash with Daryl Hannah.
I'll have to see that. Tom Hanks, right?
You never saw Splash?
No.
Oh, I love that movie.
And John Candy, right?
Yes.
I like Tom Hanks. You gotta see Big. You'll love Big. I'm telling you. You'll like
I
the
know.
movie
There's
a
a
lot.
lot of movies I need to see.
No. Hey, I highly recommend it for me. That goes on top of the list. I don't give a fuck what other movies.
I recommend Underworld 4.
Gotta see Big. It's a great
What movies
movie.
coming out this year are you looking forward to?
Nothing.
Wow.
Detroit Vice. I don't know.
I turned that into the Broke Student Film Festival this year. It got turned down because it was too much swearing.
Really? I didn't notice.
Yeah.
I think it was probably the nigger Mexican. You know, they probably turned it off like the first 5 seconds. They probably turned it off.
Who made this shit?
So I fucked that chick last night. Oh, that's just shit. What is this, a joke?
Yeah.
I was fucking her tits and shit. I like it. It is funny.
Filmmaking at its best.
I guess.
That was a stiff competition this year, though. There was a lot of great films.
Yeah.
But I got to say, a lot of them were built on gimmicks. A lot of them were just based on, camera angles and
Shame
stuff.
on you for cutting down Walk Beside Eden.
I had to. That's the only way it would get shown.
I don't care.
And
don't do that.
even then at the film festival, it seemed too long.
That movie is too good by the way it is.
I know.
Don't cut it. You're cutting out magic.
That nobody can see
I
because it's too
told
long. You can't market a 27-minute film. There's no
Did you know I
category
just
for
watched
that.
Fellowship of the Ring? Did you know that? I watched it on Blu-ray.
Why?
And I have two. And
It's like the worst
I
movie
want to watch
ever.
2 Towers.
It's worse than
Be
Seinfeld.
proud of me. You always try to get me to watch Lord of the Rings. I like it.
You got to watch The Hobbit.
Except Samwise
It's
is
fucking awesome.
obviously queer for Frodo. I mean, it's just without question.
I
There's
guess.
something going on there. They were.
I think Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman were gay for each other in Shawshank, but that's another
Oh,
story.
that's a great movie. I could be a friend to you.
Yeah. I could be a friend to you.
Sure.
We were talking about in I have a rhetoric class. I'm doing that paper, and it's all about rhetorical. It's basically analyzing anything you want, really. And we were talking about bromance, bromance films. And the other thing we were talking about was like Thelma and Louise, that whole, two girls with this really intimate, female feminine friendship. And how a lot of guys with Thelma and Louise hated that movie because it made guys out to be the bad
Look
guys.
weak. Yeah.
Yeah.
Never saw that movie.
I didn't see the whole thing. I saw a lot of it, though. And, yeah, it's a Lifetime movie. It's the kind of movie my wife watches. Amanda watches Lifetime all the time, and it always it victimizes the females, and it makes the guys look like a bunch of assholes. And so you watch something like... You watch something like Thelma and Louise, it's very degrading to me.
There's lots of movies that make women look weak and inferior.
Oh, I understand. I'm
so
not...
the women can have... Well, what's your problem with that? I mean, hey, let the woman have their chances, too.
No, well, it's just hard for me to sit there. It's interesting that so many of one sex hate a movie while so many of the other sex like a movie. So we were talking about bromances, and the two examples, of course, my professor came up with Superbad. And I said, Superbad to me isn't really a bromance movie because the two characters in that movie don't like each other until the very end. They hate each other. I mean, they're constantly at each other's throats. The true bromance movies to me are like Shawshank Redemption, and Lethal Weapon is a really good one.
That's a buddy cop movie.
But it's a bromance. It really is. But here's the thing, though, is you have a movie like Shawshank Redemption, and it's a prison movie about these two friends that get as intimate as you can with the guy relationship without it being homo. And that's the thing. Like, I think it's true, and a lot of guys watch that movie. Well, a lot of guys who watch that movie, are like homophobes. Like, they can't deal with that kind of friendship, and you can't have two guys in a movie confess their love for another without people saying, "Oh, they're gay."
It was just an inspiring movie more than anything. It was more about the human spirit, that. Andy Dufresne didn't commit that crime, did he? Right?
No. But that's that's the point I'm trying to make. Is it's just like there was a very, it's kind of like Lord of the Rings. Now, Lord of the Rings with Sam and Frodo, there's a lot of there's reason to believe that they could be gay or at least bi because Sam does marry that really hot hobbit at the end. that was, I don't know. Do you think they crossed the line with that, with the whole Frodo kissing Sam at the end of Return of the King?
Is this the discussion we're gonna have here? Frodo kissing? Do you think they went too far? Do you think that movie was too gay?
I don't know. Maybe it needed more gay. Maybe everybody should be gay. I mean, if Dumbledore from Harry Potter can be gay, I think everybody in fantasy should be gay. Except Arwen. She's fucking hot.
Yeah, she can be straight. Wait, who? Liv Tyler?
Yeah.
Oh, right, of course, yes. Wasn't she in Armageddon?
Yeah.
Isn't that right?
It's one of my favorite Michael Bay movies, next to The Island.
Yeah. And then you were talking about Schindler's List and the girl in the red coat. You were trying to analyze all that. Remember that?
Yeah.
You were trying to what does it mean? Or
well,
you were playing with all the different colors and.
It's very interpretive, and I have a problem with films that are overly interpretive. I need a film to have a narrative, But like Schindler's List is great because.
Oh yeah.
This is my analysis of the girl in the red coat in Schindler's List, because Schindler's List, I would say 99% of it is in black and white, except for like the very beginning and the very end are in color because it's like present day. And then in the middle there's a section with a little girl. She's wandering through the city. Oscar Schindler is watching all the Jews getting slaughtered, and this little girl with the red coat is just walking through, and
yeah.
it's a chance for us to follow her. And you were asking, like, what is the purpose of that? And if you realize,
I wasn't.
Well, I thought you were.
You
weren't
were.
You? Oh,
you were asking me what I thought about it.
Well, what do you think about it?
Well, if you look at the movie in the close-up, there's that pivotal close-up, and it was like, he realized that's when he had a change of heart, really.
Right.
When he saw that girl in the red coat, his whole, he started to care about them.
But why do you think Spielberg chose to make that one scene in the movie in color, that one segment?
Because she stood out to him. She resembled innocence, and I think that's what she stood out. To him, that's all he saw was her.
I think it resembled also just kind of like the last bright light, like a bright light
true?
for the Jews.
Yep.
Because if you realize, one of the opening
candle.
shots of the movie is the candle, and the candle flame is in color, even though the rest of it's in black and white. And then the candle flame extinguishes, and then later in the movie, you see the girl, and she's the only thing in color and red is the girl. It's like she is the flame, and it's really weird too because. And maybe this is because it's a shot just by herself, but when she hides under the bed, the coat is no longer red. It's gray. Yeah. It's weird. It's black and white again. Yeah. It's weird. I don't know if there's a reason for it.
I like the villain. Oh, what a great villain.
Yeah.
That's what the main strength in the movie to me has always been the hero and the villain. They both
absolutely, which is why I think a lot of these superhero movies coming out fail.
Yeah, I'm not a big superhero movie fan, honestly. I like Batman. Spider-Man was okay, but honestly, the Iron Man, the freaking Hulk. No, listen, Captain fucking America, kiss
sucks.
my ass.
Yeah.
All right, lick my balls while you're down there. Go fuck yourselves.
Didn't
with a fucking stick?
Didn't
Captain America?
Who played the villain in that movie, Captain America?
I don't give a shit. It was probably G. Ganthor.
Shut up. That's me.
What, is that you? That's you? Well, it may as well have been. I am Jay Ganthor.
No, it was the fucking guy who played
Gozer?
What? No, the elf in Lord of the Rings. The Hugo Weaving.
Oh, the agent.
Red skull face guy.
Gozer. I thought Gozer was a man.
Gozer the Garzarian.
Son of a giant s'mores. They knew what it was like to be roasted in the depths of a s'more that day, I can tell you.
Next time, when you're asked if you're a god, you say, yes! I have seen shit that'll turn you white.
You want some coffee? Do I? Yes, have some. Yes, have some. I want Louis Telly's dialogue on my iPod and listen to that all. I could just
like
on
your
a loop.
ringtone?
On a loop, yeah. Oh, Dana, it's you. That was the drugstore.
I'm going to take a shower.
Even though you don't owe taxes, even though you shouldn't. That's why I invited clients instead of friends. You having a good time, Mark? Okay.
We'll just wrap up the podcast with dialogue from other movies. So
we can go on forever.
We started with Ghostbusters 3. Do you want to end or do you want to keep going?
Whatever. I mean, hey, if it happens, it happens. If not, it not. But I'm still going to stand by and tell you Ghostbusters 2 it kind of sucked. I know you like it, but sorry, my friend. I couldn't even laugh. It's cool. It's got some cool ideas, and the effects are cool, and there are actually some pretty thrilling parts, but honestly, the humor. I know. You're
I've
gonna.
always said
I know
that
you
the
love to
first
defend
Ghost.
it.
I've always said that the first Ghostbusters is funnier. So if you're
What's
looking,
the funniest part in Ghostbusters 2? You tell me.
the
I want to hear it.
funniest part
Let's
in
hear it.
Ghostbusters 2, I have to think a minute. It's not as obvious because
Yeah.
there's not as many funny moments into.
You're not gonna get a green card with that attitude, pal. That might have been it. It's okay, but it definitely just wasn't. To me, it just felt really dry. You know, I guess that's the word.
I never
Not
said
to
it was.
knock
I never
but-
said it was a funnier movie. That's not. I don't. And I don't even know if it's a better movie. But
No, you
I
told
watched,
me you like Ghostbusters 2 better than Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
That's when I do the line
and I
with
might, but it's not like a big. It's not like a big. Like it's so much better. It's. I don't know. I think it's just the story. First of all, you got to realize that Ghostbusters 2 is basically the same movie. Instead of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, you've got the Statue of Liberty. It follows the same formula. Instead of Gozer, you've got
You got the slime.
Vigo.
The slime.
Yeah.
Is
And I visually I like 2 better. I thought it had more effects. I like Bill Murray in both movies. It's not as funny, but I don't know. I don't really see the first Ghostbusters as just a comedy.
It was
either.
weird how him and Sigourney Weaver had broken up, I guess, in between the movies, right? They weren't dating anymore.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the first movie, obviously, they were kissing.
Well, yeah, because she had the baby. She had Oscar and everything.
Man, the superintendent's going to be pissed.
That was one, right? Yeah.
I saw that in theaters.
Yeah.
That was a
no,
great
that was
memory.
a treat. I think what it is too is
So
there's a nostalgia factor with 2 though, because a lot of movies I grew up watching like the sequels first, and then later on I saw the original. I think Ghostbusters 2 I saw a lot more as a kid, and the first one I would watch once in a while when it was like on TV. But I think 2 we had on like VHS tape or something when it first came out. Because Ghostbusters 1 when it came out, it was 84. I was a year old.
Jeez.
2 came out in like 89, so I was a little older to see those and remember 2. And I remember I thought Bill Murray when I was a kid was funny to watch in that movie. But yeah, I would definitely say Ghostbusters 1 has more memorable lines, but it's just I guess to me what stands out more. And like I said, because I saw 2 more, I think my favorite scene of both movies is the Scoleri brothers. It's not a funny scene, but like I said...
Oh, the courthouse?
Yeah, but Ghostbusters is not just a comedy. It's funny, but there's a lot of supernatural moments in it, too. And that's what I really liked, was that blend of humor...
Your next, Bubbles. Sorry.
I can't... You're right, though.
But the quintessential Bill Murray movie is always Groundhog Day. Probably. I like Groundhog Day
Do you agree?
a lot.
Yeah, because that's what I said.
I always said Pete Venkman is his funniest role, but his best role is Groundhog Day.
Yeah, I would definitely agree.
That's the way
and
it is.
that's the thing. Like, if you're saying, like, you know, what's the funniest movie, that's different than what the better movie
Right.
is.
That's how I see it.
know?
His funniest role was Pete Venkman, but his best role was, what's his name?
Phil Connors.
Prima Donnas.
Phil?
So here we are.
Ned!
Here we are again.
3, 2,
Hypocrites!
1.
All of you!
I want to like Phil.
Oh, yeah, that was sweet. I liked how he, it was kind of a guide of how not to be an asshole,
So I did a top 25 list of movies like a couple years ago. Do you agree with any of those movies, or what did you think about them?
You didn't pick any bad ones, that's for sure.
Well, there's this guy I work with, and he's always he's always
What's
claiming.
his name, by the way?
I won't say his name on the air because he works under me.
On the air, what are we? All right, no, okay, fair enough. So Alan said.
Yeah, so Alan. No,
So there
we
it was.
were. No, you know what was funny? We were having not an argument, but there's this. We were talking about Seinfeld, and now, I'll be honest. I'm not going to sit here and badmouth Seinfeld. I've seen like 7 minutes of one episode and I didn't laugh.
Right.
So that's just me. Understand this. I'm the kind of person, if everybody likes something, I will do my best not to like that.
All right, so where are you going here with this, with the Seinfeld thing?
You and Dan used to always say that Seinfeld was it's a show about nothing, right? Wasn't that the big thing? Like Seinfeld is a show about nothing.
Yeah, it's everyday life. Yeah.
And there's the Nostalgia Critic did a retrospective on it, and he had an argument. It wasn't that he hates Seinfeld; he likes Seinfeld a lot, but it's a show about something. It's got a 3-act structure. Every episode has a situation, and it's got a story. The show is about how a comedian finds his material throughout the day. So it's not really a show about nothing. It's a show about something.
Right. No, it was just kind of but it's, well.
I mean, it can be random, too.
What does this have to do with Alan at your work?
Well, because he was talking about, do you like, it's like whenever he asks if I like something, I always debunk it. I'm always like, no, I don't. Because we were talking about that top 25 list.
Uh-huh.
He disagreed with like everything.
You showed him the list?
He watched it because it's online.
Oh, okay.
Gave him the link.
Oh.
And he was like, I can't believe you like Temple of Doom the best of all the Indiana Jones movies. Like, we've had this argument before, though. Like, that's the one I watched the most as a kid. That's the one that stood out to me the most. Maybe that's why I like it when it's considered the worst in the series. I got the whole thing on DVD recently. Now, I don't love The Crystal Skull. I think it's a pretty good movie, but it's very hard to compare that one to the other. It's actually kind of a boring movie. And the reason it is, I think, is because they don't take any risks with that movie.
Not at all.
Temple of Doom took some risks.
Karen Allen was rather disappointing, too.
She was. There's a lot of aspects of that movie. I mean, they had like 20 minutes of it where he's just walking around talking to Shia LaBeouf. When is Indiana Jones ever
flat.
just... Yeah. It was a flat movie. I mean, I watched it recently, and I'm like, this is kind of unimpressive. But it wasn't a bad movie either. I liked what they were going.
Raiders.
But I liked the idea that George Lucas originally had of making it like this 50s Alien Invaders movie. That would have been a better movie than what they came up with. They played it safe. And it's like you hear these stories about writers taking 10 years to decide a good movie, and this is the one they brought out. Same with like Freddy versus Jason. Oh, it took us 10 years to make a movie that plays it safe. Superman Returns, another example. It's another fucking story about Lex Luthor with real estate condos and
You're
shit.
right. You're like, this is what you came up with after all these years of hard work?
Why spend so much time on a movie and then you bring out a subpar thing? Because that's my problem with Star Wars. There's too many hands in the pot right now for me to be excited about it. I'm sure it'll be good, but that's the thing. You've got too many talented people having their say.
Well, they should listen to the fans. They've been saying that now.
But how many fans does Star Wars have? You don't just Star Wars is not just a small nerdy.
It's not
audience.
a movie anymore. It's going to be on a movie.
It's a culture. And so you've got a lot of people who just want you to turn the novels into movies.
It's a lot of pressure. I still like the thought of having about 3 different stories being told. Luke training his Padawans, and I really believe Boba Fett escaping the Scarlet Pit.
I think,
and then Han and Leia's.
I think that they should make. Well, there wouldn't. Well, maybe there would be some money. They should make a section of Star Wars. What do you call like open source, where anybody could make a Star Wars movie and market it. And like Lucasfilm collects like, I don't know, 80% of the profits from it, so that there's still money to be made. But just let the fans make whatever movies they want.
I think it's overkill, honestly.
I mean, it is, but I think the point with Star Wars with all these new movies is that there's still a lot of stories to be told. Now, what I'm afraid of is you're going to have a series that's like the Clone Wars TV show, which I thought was fucking abysmal.
Yeah.
I watched the first season, and I'm like, I think I'm done with Star Wars at this point because it's just not quality anymore.
It's not even Star Wars anymore.
Yeah.
I don't like the Clone Wars. No, that's why I like what they're going with the future after. You know what movie I didn't like, though? I got to be honest. I liked the first 40 minutes, but Return of the Jedi was kind of a little flat for me.
Why?
I don't know.
I
think it was the Ewoks.
The Ewoks are bad.
Ewoks.
The Ewoks are badass because if they win, they will rip off your head, play drums with your head, and eat your flesh. They made a good point. No,
the Ewoks, and you know what also was? It was Han Solo was rather disappointing, I thought. I thought he lost a lot of his edge. And I think a lot of it does come from Harrison Ford wanting to really just be done with it.
My argument with that, though, is that Star Wars, to me, I mean, Han Solo would not have been an interesting character if he would have just stayed the same character. He goes through a character arc, and that involves, falling in love with Princess Leia and being protective of her. And I think we saw that arc. Now, Harrison Ford didn't want Han Solo to die, and George didn't, and I thought that was a wise choice.
I love you. I know.
But I could have sworn a lot more people liked Jedi before the prequels came out. I think Jar Jar Binks kind of fucked it up for people.
Well, no, I mean, come on. The Ewoks aren't really exactly the best. Well, like I said, the people do forget that Star Wars is made for kids. I think a lot of people forget that for it.
Yeah, but
you got these grown adults that want a movie.
The Ewoks at least had a purpose in the story, really, and they didn't. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I don't think.
I'm just saying, I didn't like the parts with all that crap. I didn't like C-3PO being praised and all that kind of stuff. Was just
Jedi to me is a creature movie. It is. There's especially Jabba's palace. That's my favorite scene of the whole movie. Is Jabba's palace.
Oh yeah. I told you I love.
But
the
at the same
minutes.
time, like visually, it's so impressive, and just the fact that it everything comes full circle.
I love the whole. Yeah, I love the whole Jabba. Obviously, that's my favorite part in the whole trilogy is when Luke gets his lightsaber.
Yeah.
When they're getting ready to push him into the Sarlacc pit. Right when he flips, and then the music kicks in. It's my favorite point in the whole series, I think.
I
love that part.
I've said that of all the movies, probably Jedi is the one I hold nearest and dearest to me. It's very hard to choose between that one and Empire.
They're all great. I mean,
and for a while, I said Sith. I would say Sith has the best story arc overall.
Rebel scum.
Yeah.
He really made the best of that line.
I got to show you. I've got this Star Wars arcade
Rebel
game on my
scum.
computer. It's pretty sweet. You can fly through the Death Star and everything.
Well, all we got to say is good luck, J.J. Abrams, and I think they'll be just fine.
Yeah.
I think they're just making a new trilogy, and that should be it. That's all I want. All these spin-off movies, it's gonna be overkill, and I really feel it's gonna lose the effect.
It's gonna be interesting, and if they're good, then make them good. I'll watch them all the way. But what I don't want them to become is like James Bond, where you've got for every one decent one, you've got 50 shitty ones. I just don't want that to happen. For every Dr. No, you've got a fucking.
So I asked you what your 3 favorite horror movies were, and you said they're all Wes Craven.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty impressive. I got it. Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yep.
Last House on the Left.
Yes.
Scream.
Yes.
My man. Wait, one for each decade, isn't it? Or was Last House on the Left in the 70s?
70s, 80s, and
yeah,
90s.
One for each decade. Look at you. Good for you.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Wes Craven. I sound like I've got a lisp.
Wes.
Wes.
You want that limeade Slurpee?
You sound like a Wes Carpenter flick.
I'll tell you though, that man has definitely slipped a lot. Unfortunately, he's probably way past his prime.
That's what happens with age, though.
I know it just sucks. I know his marriage broke up. I'm not, it's not excuses, but obviously the quality of his films have definitely gone downhill quite a bit. My Soul to Take, Scream 4.
Scream 4
he's done a few movies.
Scream 4 was a disappointment, but I don't think that's all his
fault.
Even
Scream 3 was pretty.
Scream 4 made me appreciate Scream 3 a lot more. But I heard those movies had a lot of studio intervention too.
Yeah. Well, I guess the man's left his mark though. He's just
even the stars of Scream. They were all saying that when they did the first Scream, it was a lot of fun because they were just meeting and everything, and then. After that, starting with Scream 2, there's a lot of pressure from the studios.
I love Scream. just thinking about it again, it's so.
But that's
good.
what I'm saying. Between Last House on the Left, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Scream, they all pretty much revitalized the horror industry. And it's funny because after each one of those, people tried to imitate those movies that Wes Craven started.
That's how you can see the mark of influence.
Yeah, I mean,
much like Star Wars. After Star Wars came out, everyone was trying to make the next Star Wars.
Yeah, and failing miserably.
Or like when Ridley Scott was trying to make Alien, he called it Jaws in Space.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely shows the influence. Are we done here? What are we doing? Are we wrapping up?
So Ghostbusters 3.
Oh, fuck all that shit. Dan Aykroyd's just trying to be relevant.
If you could make a sequel to any, if you were a director and somebody came to you and they gave you the sequel to a movie you want to see a sequel to, what movies would that? What movies would that be?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a good question. I don't know. Wow, that's.
If you had creative control over a
sequel. Are you
sequel,
talking about just one movie?
Well, let's do
or
3.
A series.
Well, 3.
You know what I mean? Is this in a series or is this in a...
just a comeback.
Wow.
Film. It could be anything.
Citizen Kane.
You do a sequel to Citizen Kane?
He didn't say Rosebud. He said bullshit. He actually hated everyone.
And it'd be called Citizen Kane.
And he'd talk like that. His dying words were, fuck you. Don't let the bitch take my money. That's a fucking sequel.
It's an all-black cast.
Morgan Freeman is Kane. Sorry. Anyways, that's a good question.
African American.
How about Casablanca when,
you do a sequel to that? Seriously?
Yeah. Rick flies over to see Elsa and kills her lover. And
well, I'm talking. Well, you could do that.
I don't know what they could. I don't know what movie I would do.
I'm saying in a movie where you could have the original cast, though. I mean, obviously with Casablanca, you'd have to have different cast and everything.
Wizard of Oz.
You do a sequel to that?
Dorothy goes back to Oz. That'd be kind of cool.
They've done that a few times, and
I know, but that would be cool. There's some chaotic event happening, and she has to go back and see her friends.
I would like it if they were to do it like that.
That would be kind of cool.
I would because did you ever see Return to Oz?
Yeah, it's kind of creepy.
It is, but that's the thing. Even Dorothy doesn't look anything like Dorothy did back in the that.
She doesn't need to.
I think she does though, and that's like with Star Trek, for example, when you have a whole new cast coming over to replace, to do a younger version of that cast. There should be some semblance of that cast.
No, I can't make a sequel to that because I think that movie's almost a masterpiece. And it is almost
Wizard
as
of Oz.
perfect because it's like she dreamt the whole thing, but yet she wakes up when everyone's in there, and this is my room, and I love all of you. It's a very nice
Well,
ending.
there's like, I don't know, 50 Oz books, and Dorothy's in pretty much all of them. So she goes back to Oz quite a bit in the books.
What
it's
movie would I want to do a sequel to? That's a good question. That's a really good question.
Not a reboot or
I
just
like
a sequel.
it.
You get the original cast and everything, but you get to like movie that you'd really like to see like a comeback film to.
That's
Godfather,
really cool.
Godfather 4. That'd be kind of interesting.
Fuck this shit. Just kill me now. I'm over it. How about Goodfellas? they hunt down Henry and kill him.
Funny. They rape his wife.
Karen, yeah. She'd probably take it, the slut. Whoops. Sorry.
Wow.
Anyway.
I always wanted him to do a Lethal Weapon 5.
I didn't even like Lethal Weapon. I'm going to be honest. I watched it
The
not
first
that
one?
long ago. Yeah, I didn't really
Wow,
like
really?
it. I don't know what it was.
It's not. I don't know. It doesn't.
really
have,
wasn't that great to me.
For some reason, I used to love that. I think
I like the chemistry between the actors.
Yeah,
That's
I
cool,
think it
but
appeals more to younger kids for some reason. Like adults don't really seem
Gary
to get
Busey,
into it.
right? Wasn't it Gary Busey?
In the first one, yeah.
You know, my favorite though is you want to shout the title. It's my favorite. I always wanted to say.
Did you ever
it to
see
someone.
Lethal Weapon 2?
Yes.
You didn't like that
a
one?
long
either?
while ago. I got to watch it again. But I just remember watching Lethal Weapon. I was like,
That's my favorite
it's really
one.
nothing.
Is 2.
Even Beverly Hills Cop.
Didn't like that.
I didn't
one?
like that either.
No, they were talking about him doing a Beverly Hills Cop 4, but it'd be like rated G and it'd be done by Disney.
I've never seen so many backwoods hillbilly fucks in my life.
Where was that from? Was that Beverly Hills
I
Cop?
thought it was. It was in that 100 Insults, and I thought it was in Beverly Hills Cop. Out. Maybe it wasn't. I just love that line.
Maybe that was like 48 hours.
Stick your dick up her ass, you motherfucking worthless cocksucker.
Exorcist?
Yeah.
Oh. I'll tell you one thing I don't want to see. Another fucking Exorcist sequel.
Oh, you mean like the last Exorcism, or?
No, just the Exorcist.
Oh, the
Exorcist
actual
series. Yeah.
I like that movie now, though. You know what I was watching about the Exorcist was the camera work, and I was like, this because they had all those those staircases and stuff. And
Have you seen Exorcist 3?
no, I haven't watched any of those sequels.
Watch Exorcist 3. You might like that one.
I might. We'll see. Oh yeah, that's what the big scare that you had. Right?
You thought it was stupid though, didn't you?
No, it was kind of scary. I saw it.
That freaked the fuck
It's freaked
out.
out. Yeah.
And the guy Brad Dourif plays the villain in there. Oh, he does a really good job.
Brad
It's-
Dourif.
yeah.
Oh, Chucky.
Yeah, there's it's funny because there's a line in that movie where he's talking to the detective and he's like child's play detective.
He was in One Flew the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah,
No. Yeah,
that's the
stuttering.
thing though. Like all these movies that people tell me I'm supposed to like, I saw that movie one
Hey,
time.
you're not supposed to. Don't. No. People
What?
don't. You can't have people tell you what to like.
Well,
It's not like that.
I know though, but I tell people like I saw that movie and I didn't know what to think about it, and they're like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Well, it won 5 Oscars, the big Oscars, and all that,
I think my big problem with it was I didn't understand the ending.
and it's got your favorite actor in the world,
Christopher
Lloyd.
Lloyd. I told that guy at work that he was my favorite actor. He was like, "Fucking Doc Brown." Yeah.
Well, he's had a couple of really good roles, but I mean, honestly, there's other actors that have had more than a couple
No,
of good
you're
roles.
right. I just like I said, like
I love Christopher
I grew
Lloyd.
up with the Back to the Future movies, especially
yeah.
Part 2. Like I
He
fucking
was good in Cuckoo's Nest, though.
I don't even remember him in Cuckoo's Nest.
You gotta watch him.
I liked him.
I know what you mean by the ending. It's a little confusing, but I
I'd
think
have
on the
to see
whole
it
it's just
again.
entertaining enough, though. I think the ensemble cast. You got
My
Dan
favorite-
DeVito, and you got
My favorite Milos Forman movie, and this is going to sound a
here you
little
go.
off, is Man on the Moon
Jim
with
Carrey.
Jim Carrey. Yeah, for some reason in high school I had a huge obsession with Andy Kaufman. I don't know why. I just did. I was really fascinated by
He was
him.
a fascinating person.
Yeah.
Could still be alive.
And that's the thing. Like the only I saw a few things of the real Andy Kaufman. I have his Midnight Special on DVD, but I'm really familiar with the Jim Carrey performance, and I mean it was just so surreal how much he took from that character. Like Danny DeVito was saying, working with him, it was almost like having Andy Kaufman there. It was so genuine.
The part.
So
Just like
I
Daniel
love it.
Day-Lewis and Lincoln.
Yeah, I didn't.
I'm
I didn't
saying,
like
I'm
Lincoln.
talking about
Yeah,
the movie.
I
I'm talking about
liked the performance.
the look that he had.
Yeah, I liked Tommy Lee Jones in that. Did you see Lincoln?
No.
I like Tommy Lee Jones in that movie. He was fucking
supporting
badass in that
acting?
movie. Yeah, he was good in that. I like that. What about a video game? What if you could make a sequel to a video game? What would you do?
I still think about the movie. I just can't think of a movie to make a sequel to.
Jaws.
Star Wars.
Jaws.
There you go.
Friday the 13th.
You know what's crazy about Jaws is I remember watching the movie when I was like 8 years old. I still remember it to this day, watching it and loving it. The shark exploding and all this stuff. I used to play Jaws in my bathtub, and now here I am at 28, and I still at least watch it once a year, and it's
Jaws.
still it grabs me right in. It's my favorite all-time movie. It's crazy. I remember watching it as a kid. That's what's so nuts about it. I've watched it all my life, and it's just something that's always stuck with me for whatever reason, even though I wasn't even born.
I'm looking at my movies, and I really don't know. I don't know.
Star Wars, I said.
I would like to see another Scream movie, but I don't.
No.
I don't want to see it go in the direction.
I don't
it
want
did
any
before.
of that. Man, don't even bring back those characters again.
I would.
Why would Sidney Prescott, in her right fucking mind, ever go back to that city?
Well, she came back in 4.
That's what I mean. Why would you ever even step foot in that town again?
I don't know. I guess you're right. I just, like I said, I'm a sucker for nostalgia.
I mean, I know we got to have some, suspend belief, but suspend my, my balls too. What's the difference?
I would like to see another Hannibal Lecter movie.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Silence of the Lambs has become one of my favorite movies now too.
That's a good one.
Oh, it's my favorite.
But I like Hannibal a lot too. That's the one that
yeah, it had that
gets a
one
lot of
scene that everyone talks about.
what the ending.
Yeah, the brain.
Some people hate that scene. I was surprised.
Julianne Moore.
Yeah.
Not as capable as Jodie Foster, but
Well, she was very close though. I thought she did a good job of. That's the thing. Something like that. I don't know if you would call it imitation or if she did a really good job of capturing the character.
13?
You never saw that. That movie's
Yeah.
shitty.
Is it shitty?
Yeah.
Is it really that bad?
Yeah. It's really cheesy.
You got Friday the 13th 1 through 8. Oh, a Jason sequel. That's what I would do. In the
I
snow.
said that. Friday
In the
the
snow.
In the snow. They were supposed to do that.
In the snow. Yeah, those
But,
fuckers.
this is the formula with horror movies. What's the concept that people really want to see that would make a lot of money? Don't do that. Do a remake that's really shitty. Let Platinum Dooms do it. Platinum Doom. They should call that company Platinum
Even
Doom.
in that Cabin in the Woods, I heard so much about it, but I was kind of let down by that. Some parts of it were kind of cool. But
I liked how
was
creative.
like,
There was that one. It was creative. I like that scene where they walk in the room and it's just blood everywhere after
Oh,
that whole
yeah.
big bloodbath. I was probably the only person laughing in the theater when I saw that.
I still like when she made out with that fucking inanimate object. That was nice. She was like, "Ooh, me?" I don't know if you remember, but
We saw it
then
in
you had the-
theaters.
You had the pothead.
a while
Oh, did
ago.
you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We saw it in theaters.
It just wasn't scary. I guess that's my whole thing.
There
I
were
was
some
hoping to be scary.
There were some tension moments, definitely.
But,
I would make a sequel to October Sky.
I've never seen it.
I'd call it November Sky. October Sky was actually pretty good. That's probably the
Jake
only.
Gyllenhaal, right?
Yeah, that's the only Jake Gyllenhaal movie I really like.
What are you talking about, Jake Gyllenhaal? Donnie Darko. What about Donnie Darko?
I didn't like Donnie Darko.
Oh, bullshit.
I didn't. That's another one that's very. The whole movie is interpretive.
I like your boobs.
Did you say suck a fuck? It's the only thing I remember.
Something like that. You are such a fuck ass.
Yeah.
What's a fuck ass?
They should do Spider-Man 4.
That's not all interpretive. He died, and I gotta watch it again. It's been a long time since I've
It's a
seen
very
it.
interpretive movie. Nothing in that
Nothing wrong
movie
with
makes
that.
any
What's wrong
sense.
with
There's
being
no.
interpretive? You make it what you want it to be. That's what's the beauty of.
But
being,
that's the thing. I need a story.
Use your imagination.
I go to a movie. If I want to use my imagination, I'll fucking color.
Use your imagination. Movies, you can use your imagination. The best movies are the ones that really stimulate your mind, and you really got to make it your own. Listen, I know you don't like Space Odyssey, but I've seen that movie, I don't know, 6 times, and each time I watch it, I get a different experience. It's really weird, but every time I watch it, I get a different feeling. It's either depressing, or it's really enlightening, or it's really, and that's really cool. It's like I feel like I don't know. I like those kind of movies that just kind of.
I don't know.
hard to
To
explain.
me, I just.
Not that one in particular. I'm just saying, like, those are the special kind of movies.
It's
But
like
know
I
what you
said,
mean.
like when you look at like Schindler's List and you've got like the one scene with the girl in the red. I mean, it's okay. I'm fine with that because it's just a scene and you can kind of deal with that scene. But like 2001, the whole movie is like that. Like I have no idea unless somebody explains it to me. That's like Citizen Kane, like with the
Here we go.
the Roger Ebert commentary.
Here we go.
Like you've said it too, but I've heard other people say you've got to watch Citizen Kane with the Roger Ebert commentary. That's great. I don't want to watch a movie with somebody telling me what everything means.
He's not telling you what it means. He's a.
Well, he's giving you a lot of history.
I'll
and
tell you
stuff.
that I liked the movie a lot more after I watched it with him because
Yeah.
he brought you don't notice things when you watch it.
Well, that's the thing with like 2001, though. I remember I watched 2001 for my first time. Then I went to a friend of mine who I was working with at the time at a grocery store I used to work at. And I asked him, like, did you ever see 2001? He was like, yeah. I'm like, well, what the fuck does that movie mean? Like, what is the monolith? I don't understand it. And he told me what, like, I guess it was supposed to mean according to the novel. And I was like, that makes sense to me when you explain it. Like, it made me very intrigued. But the movie that Stanley Kubrick came up with, and that's one of the big criticisms, is that the whole movie is just very, very interpretive. That's why I like 2010 better.
Because it tries to explain it.
It explains, well, I don't even want to say explains. It makes it more accessible.
See, I like it when it's not explained because it's more...
And I get what you're saying, fine, but a lot of Kubrick's films in particular, I mean, it seems to me like they're kind of pretentious.
Yeah,
like maybe he didn't know really what the fuck he was doing, but he wants people to think he did.
The main reason I like 2001 is that it's the one movie I can think of that really tried to reach out in outer space, that really tried to show that the sky's the limit out there. We don't really know. Back in the 60s especially. Today we all know what's out there, but back in the 60s we were just landing on the moon.
We don't know what's out there. It's like they said in Armageddon, we only cover 3% of the sky.
It's an aspiring movie because he was really trying to shoot for the stars. And I can't think of any other science fiction films that really try to do that. Really try to show us that.
Planet of the Apes.
Well, the model. It's evolution. That was obviously...
You are right, though. We aren't seeing as many science fiction movies, and the ones that are coming out today are terrible because they don't even explore outer space anymore. Everything is basically exploring Earth or aliens.
I got my newfound love for Blade Runner. I love Blade Runner now. Absolutely.
Blade Runner, I still don't like it, but I liked it better the second time I watched it.
And then the third time will be even better. You realize it's not about Harrison Ford killing robots. It's much deeper than that. It's our humanity. Think of it that way. We're all replicants in our own way. Limited lifespan.
Yeah.
And he went, when Rutger Hauer breaks into that guy's house, he goes, "I want more life, Father." He wanted to live longer, and it's like, it's really a reflection of us as humans. I don't know. I get that out of Blade Runner. It's very deep. You don't see it the first time. It's just.
I will say that, and this is what really gets me about like George Lucas and this whole I didn't do the prequels because I wanted technology to catch up. Like he's always saying like there's no way to do Coruscant and do it like practically. Then you see Blade Runner, which came out in fucking 82 before Jedi, and you've got Coruscant, and it looks fantastic, man. Blade Runner for its time is one of the best looking movies I've ever seen.
The production design.
And it's a very shitty like the environment and everything. It's very gritty and just I wouldn't want to live there.
It goes well beyond its surface.
Yeah.
I'll
go with that.
It's a testament to our humanity. You think of it as we're all replicants. And the Tyrell Corporation? That was like God. He makes them and he says I want more life and he's like, no, the facts of life,
I've always been fascinated by stories that explore the possibility of like God.
That too.
Which is why I like Star Trek V a lot.
Well, there
Star
you go.
Trek V is a guilty pleasure for me.
All right. Yeah, you're right. No, Blade Runner. I didn't mean to keep going on Blade Runner, but yeah, it does have that look, and it's just the whole movie. Now I love it. Now I love it. Now I memorized it, and
and like a lot of these movies, I don't disagree with you. Like, I never sat there and said, "Oh, Citizen Kane" or Lawrence of Arabia. I never said they were shitty, but they are. A lot of these movies go beyond their surface. Like I remember watching Lawrence of Arabia. Lawrence of Arabia is a fucking really long movie,
right?
And a lot of it takes place in the desert, and there are just some of these shots are very long and tedious to sit through. And I'm like, at the end of watching this movie, I needed to take a drink of water.
You feel like you're in the desert with them.
But
that's the idea.
At the same time, I'm like, like Laurence Olivier, is that his name? The guy who played the actor?
Peter O'Toole.
Yeah, like I had a hard time identifying with that character. I didn't think he was a very interesting character.
Yeah, he's a complex hero.
It's so weird. It's so weird to watch that Prometheus movie, and the robot in the movie was watching Lawrence of Arabia, and he wanted to model himself after Peter O'Toole. It was weird.
Well, it is a great epic, though. I mean, when you really do watch it, it's quite a feat of filmmaking to a movie of that scale.
Well, it's really cool too to watch these movies and actually explore them. There's not a lot of movies today,
and it is well written. Lawrence of Arabia is very well written. It does have one of the best scripts.
Watch it again.
And the music, because I believe you burned me the music with the music,
Let's do a sequel to Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah, there you go. There's lots of things in that movie to like. It is a very long movie. I can't watch it in one sitting. Those kind of movies I have to like.
I did.
You gotta take a break somewhere.
I mean,
man. Jesus.
I remember I saw this movie called Intolerance which was a
Jeez, that's old.
J.W. Griffith film from 1918.
How'd you come across Intolerance?
I downloaded it.
No, I'm saying, what made you want to watch it?
It was on the
AFI.
The AFI's top 100 list.
There you go.
Of 2007, and that was on there, and it was very fascinating, but it's a 3-hour movie from 1918, and it's a silent film. So that's another one that's very interpretive. Now, the general filmmaking, back then was just about trying to compile a story together with images, and it does that very well. But again, it's a very interpretive story.
I've never seen it. It's so weird to watch movies that old, isn't it?
It's hard to sit through.
It's really remarkable for us to try to watch a movie like that old. Our parents weren't even born. I mean, it really, wow, that's how old it is.
My grandparents weren't born.
That's what I mean. It's so. How can we possibly even relate to a movie like that? That's why it's kind of hard to like movies like that.
I think the better question is, what if we do relate to movies like that? It just means that the movie stands the test of time.
True.
They were trying to say something about society with that kind of movie.
That's true. Ahead of its time, maybe.
So I don't know.
This and that.
It's back when
wasn't Citizen Kane number 1?
Yeah, but it's been dethroned, I think, by Vertigo.
That's on a different poll, not the AFI, but the the Sight and Sound. You're right. Vertigo did take number 1.
I'm kind of glad because I actually did really like Vertigo, despite its flaws.
You got to watch it again. It's so good.
You like
so good.
For some reason, you got really offended when I first told you about Vertigo. I told you I really liked it, but I had some problems with some of the production, and you're like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
What do you mean the production?
Well, just some of the visual effects.
Well,
there are some cheesy things.
Oh, well, yeah, because it's a 50-year-old movie. I mean,
well, yeah, but North by Northwest looked fantastic.
Yeah,
and didn't that come before
Vertigo?
What's
so fake in Vertigo? Well, I mean, besides the woman falling off, that's your only complaint then.
Well, a lot of those Vertigo shots where he's looking down.
Oh, with the camera?
Yeah, I didn't. That didn't.
What?
I don't know. I thought
that was he pioneered that technique.
It looked goofy to me. I don't know.
Oh, well then there it is. No, but that's a movie that definitely benefits from repeated viewings.